He thought that badge made him untouchable. He thought a man with a prosthetic leg was an easy win, and he thought nobody important was watching. Yeah, that happened, and it's exactly why his life fell apart. See, I remember that day, clear as glass, the heat rising off the asphalt, the kind that makes the air shimmer like it's lying to you. And there I was, just trying to mind my business, in a diner parking lot, hood up on my truck, hands greasy brain focused on whether I could stretch one more week out of a transmission that sounded like it had a cough. I wasn't bothering anybody, wasn't loud, wasn't drunk, wasn't doing anything except existing in public, and somehow that was enough. I heard the cruiser before I saw it, tires crunching slow like somebody stalking, and when the door slammed, it wasn't just a door slam, it was a message. You know what I mean? Heavy deliberate meant to land on your nerves before the voice even hits. Step away from the vehicle. Not hello, not how you doing. Just a command like I was already guilty. I turned slow hands up out of habit because when you've been trained in tense places, you learn real fast that calm can save your life. And I said, "Afternoon, officer, just checking my fluid." He walked up with that look I've seen before, that look that says he already decided who you are. Before you opened your mouth, hand resting on his holster like it was part of his personality. He looked me up and down, then said, "Is this your truck, boy?" That word hung there sour and heavy, and I felt it hit my chest like a pebble dropped down a well, but I kept my voice level and told him yes. Registration's inside if he wants it. He leaned closer, too close, like he needed to smell my breath to feel important, and he said he didn't ask for registration. He asked what I was doing in a handicap spot, said I looked fine to him. I told him the placard was mine, that I'm a disabled vet, and he laughed short and ugly like I just told a joke he didn't appreciate. A veteran, huh? What were you, a cook? I said, airborne, and he smirked, like he didn't believe a word. Inside the diner, there was a girl watching. I didn't know it. Then college kid type with a phone, the kind of person who actually notices when something feels off, and thank God she did because that phone ended up being louder than his badge. He told me to keep my hands up, said I was getting agitated, which was wild because I was standing still like a statue, and I said calmly, I wasn't agitated, I was answering him. He snapped back that I was giving attitude, that it counted as resisting, and right there I knew he wasn't talking to me. He was talking to the story he'd already written in his head. He told me to turn around and put my hands behind my back. I asked for what, and his face tightened like I'd insulted him just by asking why. Then he grabbed my wrist fast, sudden the way somebody does when they want you to react, and my arm jerked back on instinct. Not swinging, not fighting, just reflex. And he shouted, "Assault on an officer," so loud it echoed off the diner windows. Next thing I know, he's got the taser out. I hear that pop-pop sound, and my body locks up like somebody pulled the plug on me. I hit the pavement hard, cheek against hot asphalt prosthetic twisting under me, and he's on my back yelling, "Stop resisting," while my muscles are spasming from electricity. I remember thinking, this can't be real, this can't actually be happening in a quiet parking lot in the middle of the afternoon, but it was, and that girl from inside burst through the diner doors holding her phone out, yelling that she was recording. He looked up at her, sweat running down his face, and told her to back off, active police situation, and she shouted back that she saw everything, that I didn't do anything. He threatened her, said she'd be next if she didn't step back, and she did step back one pace, but she didn't lower the phone, not once. He yanked my arms behind me, cuffs biting into my wrists, and I told him my prosthetic was jammed, that I needed to adjust it, and he told me to shut up like pain was just me being dramatic. Then he went through my pocket, pulled out my wallet, and I watched his expression change when he saw what was inside. My military ID and a courtesy card signed by the chief of police, my uncle. The color drained from his face for a split second, and I swear you could see the crossroads in his eyes, apologize or double down. He doubled down. Said it was fake, said I was impersonating, shoved the wallet in his own pocket, then reached up and shut off his body cam like he thought turning off the camera would turn off reality. The girl said she already uploaded her video, and that was the moment I think panic started eating him alive. He shoved me into the cruiser and took off, and at the station he told everybody I'd been erratic, reaching for a weapon. All the usual words they use when they need a story fast. They processed me, took my fingerprints, took my prosthetic for safety, left me balancing on one leg in a holding cell, feeling about 2 inches tall, and for 4 hours, they wouldn't let me make a call. But outside that building, the truth was moving faster than his lies, because that video was already online, already spreading, already being watched by thousands, then hundreds of thousands, then millions. By the time my uncle saw it on the news that evening, the whole town had seen it. And when he walked into that station, he didn't yell, didn't posture. He just looked at the officer and said quietly, "Take off your badge." Internal Affairs cuffed him right there while he kept insisting I resisted, and my uncle said calm as winter. We saw the video, Dale. The whole world saw it. You'd think that would be the end, right? Justice curtain closed. But real life doesn't wrap up that neat. The next couple days I watched the narrative twist like a knife. Anonymous posts online saying I had a violent past. Old sealed records suddenly leaked to reporters, commentators on TV talking about my PTSD like it made me dangerous, like the worst day of my life defined every day after. My phone buzzed with threats from numbers I didn't know, people calling me crazy, saying they knew where I lived, and I sat there in my apartment with ice on my leg, wondering how surviving a bomb overseas somehow led to being treated like a criminal at home. My uncle came by late that night, looked worn out, told me the union was pushing back hard, trying to scare the city into defending the officer, and he slid me a business card across the table. A civil rights attorney who didn't charge unless he won. That lawyer flew in 2 days later, watched the footage twice, leaned back and said, "They think they can make a jury afraid of you. We're going to make them afraid of the truth." Months passed and the case went to court. Reporters packed the room, protesters outside chanting my name, and the defense tried to paint me as a threat, called me a trained weapon, said the officer, feared for his life. My lawyer didn't shout, didn't pound the table. He just played the video frame by frame, asked simple questions. Where are his hands? Is he moving forward? Does he look aggressive? And every answer pointed the same direction. Then came the moment nobody expected. A rookie officer took the stand and testified that the sergeant told her to turn off her camera and rough me up before booking. The defense yelled liar, and my lawyer said, calm as Sunday morning, we have audio. They played it, and there was his voice clear as day, bragging about teaching me a lesson. You could feel the air leave the room. The jury looked at him different after that, like they were seeing him for the first time. We didn't even make it to a verdict. The city settled public apology over $1 million in damages. Officer fired and later convicted in federal court. People kept telling me I won, but honestly what I felt most was relief, like I could finally exhale after holding my breath for months. I bought the diner where it happened, fixed it up, turned it into a place that hires vets and folks who need a second chance, and life moved on. Then one rainy night, years later, the doorbell over the diner entrance jingled, and in walked a man I barely recognized, older, heavier, leaning on a cane, clothes-soaked, eyes hollow. It was him. He stood there staring at the floor and said quietly, he didn't know it was me that day, said he'd leave. I looked at him and felt that old flash of anger, the asphalt, the cuffs, the word he used, all of it rushing back, and for a second I thought about telling him to get out. Instead, I heard myself say, "You hungry?" He nodded without looking up. I told him to sit. I brought him a hot plate and coffee, and he ate like somebody who hadn't seen food in days. Between bites, he whispered that he lost everything. Job, house, family, health. I told him he lost what he threw away. He looked at me with tears in his eyes and said he was sorry. I believed him, not because he deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. I told him I forgave him, slid him $20 and a card for a shelter that could help him get medical aid. Then I told him not to come back, that forgiveness doesn't mean access. He nodded, thanked me, and limped out into the rain. So here's what I want to know from you, and be honest. If you were in my shoes, would you have fed him, or would you have sent him back out into that storm? And why do you think so many people still assume guilt based on how someone looks before they ever hear them speak? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you would have done, and if you've ever seen something like this happen in real life, I want to hear that too, because stories like this aren't rare, they're just rarely recorded.